Well, Daniel Sam's night at the CCI. Jasprit Bumrah gives him just the 9 to defend of the last over against David Miller and Rahul Tewatia, the in-form, nearly inevitable pair that take you over the line in chases, especially in this year's IPL, especially at the CCI. And Sams has conceded just 3. So 6 runs separates the Titans and the Mumbai Indians to give MI their second win of the season and to give the Gujarat Titans their first taste of back-to-back defeats in this year's IPL. Sets up quite the review chat on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 95G. We'll hear from Ian Bishop in just a moment. First up, Daniel Vettori. That was against the odds, you think? For a large part of that innings, Dan, we felt this is going to be easy for the Titans, including till that last over. How have they not gotten over the line?
They stumbled. I mean, it was brilliant from Mumbai Indians to pull that back in, because the partnership between Shubman Gill and Ridhwan Saha felt like that was enough. I think they got them through to 100, over 100, something like that.
106 in 12 overs.
106, and that felt like that laid the platform. So for them to bounce back, M. Ashwin to 2 important wickets, so he justifies his selection in the team. But overall, it's just one of those performances that Mumbai, you would have thought could have got earlier in the season. So they'll be disappointed about that. But also the fact that it was inevitable that Gujarat had to lose one of these as well, because it feels like every game they play on is like this.
You said that, but Bish at the pre-show said he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe these things are due. But Bish, just looking at that chase, I mean, it almost seemed like these are the games. Gujarat have won far tougher games than this and managed to pull off far more challenging equations. What's happened here? Do you call this an almighty choke?
There's some eerie similar patterns in the game, wasn't it? The opening partnerships for both teams flew off. They were sort of similar around the 10th over, very close in the 15th over. So I want to give credit to Daniel Sams and the guys who bowled those last 4 overs. I thought people can look and focus on what the batsman didn't do, but I thought some of the bowling there was disciplined in those last 3 or 4 overs, and Sams at the end. Those, you know how brave it is to bowl those wide, full deliveries, those slow balls just within that guideline there. And it goes back to a conversation that we had a little earlier today about umpiring. The umpiring there could have gone either way. So credit to the umpires for holding on to good decisions.
I wanted to get Dan's reactions as well. He's shaking his head because he stood on the other side of that. Yeah.
Credit to them for making easy decisions.
Well, no, they're not easy decisions. I mean, because we've seen them go wrong, so they're not straightforward. And you know, if we apply that to the players, some people may look and say, well, the batsmen choked when it should have been easy decisions to win the game. So if the players get critiqued, Daniel, and those, you said that to me earlier, and I take that on board. If you criticize the players and you praise them, you criticize the umpires, then we deserve to praise them as well.
But now I'm praising the bowlers now. So we can critique the batsmen. The praise goes to the bowlers, not the umpires.
Okay, let's establish one thing. Since Bish is on, and he makes a valid point of appreciation to umpires. The umpires did get those white calls absolutely right. They were not whites, because we've seen some given, which are just on top of that guideline.
I don't even think it's a question, is it? They were nowhere near white.
Nowhere near white. No. You're very happy with that.
Yeah.
The choice of the balls that Daniel Sams has bowled, who himself has had a tough season, especially with ball.
I think so, and Bish is right. Those are brave balls, because you get that slightly wrong and you come into David Miller's arc. So to go 2 in a row, to execute the Minch perfect, I mean, you could see what it meant to him at the end, because I think it was the relief of winning, but more for Daniel Sams is the relief of executing, the relief of justifying, the faith that they have had him in the last few games, and to put him in that death situation where probably in the past he's defaulted to the Yorker, slightly missed and been hit. Whereas today he was probably brave enough to go with the balls that he wanted to bowl, and he was magnificent.
I mean, I'm looking at the reactions from the Mumbai Indians. It looks like they won their 6th IPL or something. I mean, clearly this win means a lot to them. Let's forget where they are on the points table. Why do you think that is?
A sense of pride for one, having lost so much. And as I said to you, I think I mentioned to you at some point earlier, 1 or 2 of the Mumbai Indians have said to me, we don't want to come last in this thing here. It's an interesting conversation. If I might digress just a little bit, please forgive me. We were discussing about maybe having a playoff with another additional team in it. This is one of the things that would benefit that in the sense that you get some games at the back end of a season where teams, I remember interviewing Sam Curran 2 years ago in Dubai, and he was saying when he split at CSK, we're just here to spoil other people's party now because we can't make the playoffs. Well, you have less of those games where you're just trying to spoil someone's party if in the future you have that extra team in the playoff, because the battle would go a lot deeper. There'll still be a couple of dead games, but there'll be less of them. So this is perhaps one of the good pluses if you could have that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you said this on the pre-show that some teams, it's okay if you finish last, or it's not as much of a sin for the Mumbai Indians. Gee, they're going to do everything they can to not finish last. You can see what this means.
We need to fight for relegation then, do we?
I love relegation.
Yeah. So we
yeah, all for that.
That's how you keep the Premier League alive.
When we get two leagues, two divisions of the league. That'll be fun.
That would be fun.
Okay, but we must ask ourselves a question of the Titans, perhaps, and how would they review this game? Would they suddenly start being a little worried with 2 losses that top 2 spot is perhaps in threat?
I suppose this is the time when you actually potentially review every game you've had and you realise we have scraped through to 8 wins. And that seems ridiculous to say. I mean, they've played well, and at crucial times they've had players step up. But they've had a number of games that could have gone both ways. And so I suppose the concern for them will be, is this starting to become a trend that we just got over a line a few times and now we're missing out, and we haven't quite got the performances from Hardik in the last few games, and that may just be the easy turning point, that he turns up in the next game, gets 60 off 40 and they cruise to a victory. So I think if you see all the teams that have been lost 3 in a row like RCB, it just takes 1 or 2 players to stand up, get the momentum back, another quality bowling and fielding performance. Rashid Khan looks like he's fantastic tonight. He can contribute again. So, look, there's always concern, but it's not that hard to turn around either.
Vish, would you go with that? You have said before that you'd be concerned with some of the teams that are trying to just sneak into the playoffs. Gujarat look like they've done enough to secure a playoff spot, but they themselves admit they've been lucky in a number of games. Suddenly that luck seems to be running out. They've not quite had that domination sort of win that a top of the table team tends to have. Would you be nervous for the Titans or not quite?
No, I wouldn't be nervous. I mean, if I were in Hardik's camp, I'd be disappointed that we didn't get over the line in this game. I don't want any slippage as we head towards the playoffs, but it's less problematic than some of the teams down below the top 4 who are fighting for their lives to get into the playoffs. So there's some disappointment, but it's not desperation where you're overly concerned. You're not happy, but you're not down on yourselves because you've played so well early in the tournament. You leave yourself a bit of wiggle room.
Okay, well, what about, can we look at some unforced errors in this chase? Hardik's run out, the double strike to M. Ashwin in his last over didn't seem like he was a bit of a threat in the first 3. Not to mention Sai Sudarshan hitting his own stumps. Quite a few gifts for Mumbai, fair to say?
Probably the run out and Sudarshan hitting his stumps. I mean, you don't see that too often. I think we've got to give M. Ashwin credit that he bowled well. He lured Shubman Gill into that, and then that's just a really good spinner's wicket against Saha when there's a sweeper. It looked like he held it back or got a little bit more bounce, and so that top edge was always on play. So those little mistakes, run-outs, I mean, you know my issues with run-outs and how much they affect a team and how unnecessary one run is in the grand scheme of things. And then Sudarshan, I mean, what do you say about that? How do you review that? Hold on to your bat.
Have you ever been hit wicket like that? Have you ever? No. Such a long career, never been hit wicket, have you?
No, never been hit wicket.
Yeah. No. Bish, I just wonder what you'd make of that. Not just the hit wicket, but in general, more credit to Mumbai, or would Gujarat be saying, gee, we gifted them this one with some mistakes, unnecessary mistakes?
The hit wicket one, I'm surprised there isn't more of that happening in the game, because guys go so deep into their crease to play pull shots and cut shots. I once saw a guy called Carlton Ball, wicketkeeper for the West Indies, little short guy, chop his stump straight out of the ground at Queen's Park Oval. And because guys are going so deep, you're always at risk of that. So, but that's a mishap. I'd put that by the way. I think real credit to Mumbai Indians. I just love to see guys holding their nerve and bowling so well at the end of an innings because I know how difficult it is, and that deserves real credit. We're scathing, understandably, when guys miss their Yorkers and they keep getting hit into the crowd, and Rashid Khan scores 22 off the last over. Well, this is the opposite end. The bowler has had the smile today, so I think we need to give him his flowers, give him his bouquet without any asterisks on it.
All right, that is pretty much it. Let's have a look at the points table first, which will tell you a story for the Titans, because now they open the door for the Lucknow Super Giants, who are in action tomorrow against KKR. If KL Rahul's team can get the 2 points, they will take top spot in the league, playing the same number of games as the Titans. And you'll also have Rajasthan take on Punjab. So there's a lot to play for. Punjab and Kolkata cannot afford to drop more points. Gujarat, on the other hand, wouldn't mind those teams in 7 and 8 upsetting the teams in 2 and 3 to just keep that top spot to themselves a bit longer. We have to also look at the Maruti Suzuki Driving School poll of the day. Question that was asked was, who you think would have conceded the fewest runs in their 4 overs in the Gujarat-Mumbai game? Remember, this question was asked yesterday and you went for Riley Meredith, but
No.
Rashid
I
Khan.
changed to others.
Well, you were still wrong, because
wrong.
Rashid Khan.
Thank you.
Rashid Khan. This poll came up yesterday somehow, but anyway, Rashid Khan was the correct answer. Had an excellent day, big imprint on the game, but unfortunately it's ended up on the losing side of this one. Speaking of Rashid Khan, we've seen him hit a couple of sixes of Marco Jansen to finish a game off at the CCI. Even that ball to Rashid Khan was a well-thought ball.
We said that straight away. We talked about how you have to bowl length to Rashid Khan, but to bowl length in that situation is very brave. And because I know Shane Bond so well, we'll step back and say that he would have had a heavy hand in the planning around that, and that he would have enforced some confidence to Daniel Sams. You're going to have to bowl length to Rashid Khan, as hard as it is to do, but don't go full.
All right. You're not going to give appreciation to anyone else in that Mumbai Indians camp for how this season is going.
No, but I'll give appreciation to Bish because he told a Gordon Greenwich story and a Carlton Bow story. So I know Carlton, so I appreciate them both.
Come on, Bish, say something to this man. Say something before I wrap up. Come on.
No, I just want to refer to something, just what we mentioned before about when Daniel talked about putting energy on the ball for Rashid Khan. It was so visible and so tangible tonight. And Murugan Ashwin, great credit to him. You know, there's one more sort of little snippet. I once heard Stan Van Gundy in the NBA say, sometimes as a broadcaster, he can't see a plan, but that doesn't mean that there is a plan. It's just that he does not know what the plan is. And that's sometimes how we have to look at it and analyze. Mumbai Indians made a change, and it's a change that worked for them. And as Dan rightly said, credit to them for seeing something about Ashwin's matchup against Gujarat Titans that worked brilliantly.
Okay, well done. That's it for tonight. Thank you very much to Ian Bishop and Daniel Vettori. Plenty more from them as the IPL continues to roll along. You shouldn't be too concerned if you're a Titans fan. It's 2 losses, but they've done more than enough of the heavy lifting in the first parts of the season. We will see you for another doubleheader in the tournament. Punjab Rajasthan kicks us off just after the toss, 3 o'clock if you're in India. And then, of course, we've got the Lucknow Kolkata game, big one in the evening to wrap things up. So we'll see you then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 9 5G. Good night.